believe I was in first grade. I remember, I was in first grade. So I was 6 years old. That's one of the times that I told you I was hanging out with my friend, and it was a shooting. So I was living in a neighborhood that you gotta get in at a certain time because they shoot at us, around us. So they were shooting, so I had to dunk down and run inside my house because they were shooting not too far away. You can actually hear how loud the gunshots were. I just had to run up in the house alone. I really didn't know where my brother was because my brother or my cousin wasn't in the house while I was in there. I was just also worried about them as well.
When we arrived to the school, it was like, okay. Like, it was like silent. Did nobody say anything? Did nobody, we didn't really conversate with each other like how we were on the plane and at the airport. Like, we was acting all childish. So like, ooh, we in Florida, yes. And then, when we arrived to the school, it was like, okay, this is where it happened at, So it was like, it kind of gave me butterflies in my stomach because, coming from Chicago where it's known with violence, having butterflies in my stomach for a situation that happens normally in Chicago, it made me feel kind of nervous, but this is the norm in Chicago. So if I don't have butterflies in Chicago, like how I had it in Florida, that's how powerful it was.
I'm upset, I'm angry, and what is happening here and what happened to you isn't right. I don't want my best friend's little sister to grow up and get shot or something, or my best friend or my mom or anybody else to get hurt because somebody want to be stupid and use a gun for no reason.
Actually, last weekend, it was like 6 police cars that had come into the neighborhood, and I was about to walk from the store next that I had suggested. And the man was like, yeah, someone just got shot just up on Justine. I was just 2 blocks away from it, so I still had to walk past that. My little nephew, actually, he's 1 year old, and his mom doesn't even take him outside. He's inside the house, so I feel that the fear inside of this neighborhood is keeping people from actually experiencing the things that I have to go through. And it's not the type of neighborhood that I want to live in, that children have to be in fear to go outside.
I don't want to see my community still normalizing the same situation that we've been fighting for the past years, even before we all came on this earth,
We all noticed that it was kind of like there was so much more loss here, and it was spread over such a large period of time. Like, we lost a lot of people, and a lot of people were injured in 6 minutes. And it was something else to see a memorial wall of more faces than any of us could count, and to know that there were still more pictures to be put on that wall, and to know that there were probably pictures that were going to go up in the future, and that no matter how hard we tried, we're going to make that change in the future, but there's still going to be deaths. And to know that this is one of the places that has the strongest gun laws, but still faces the highest gun violence, it's a very, very emotional and trying time. But as we make this change and as we try to push for these changes on federal level, we're going to make this change together. And we might have differences, but we have something in common, and it's a really, really big thing.
It's been about 2 years, maybe 3 years. When we first got here, she didn't want just all white walls. She was like, I need some type of emotion to it. So we painted that room, and we painted this. And those the 2 that we painted. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. And she had a questionable hairstyle with my auntie as well. Danielle. This is actually a the most recent picture of my brother Randall. This was us when we was little. Me, my oldest brother that just left at the house, Tavon, and Randall. So he had left one night to take his girlfriend to the bus stop so she can get home safe. And as he was coming back, he had seen his friends, so he had went over towards them, and as they started to leave, there was a shootout down the block, and he, I guess he was in front of them all, so he got caught in the crossfire and got shot. And I guess the man came up to him afterwards to make sure he was dead and shot him twice inside the head. So he was shot 9 times that day. He was, like the rest of the family, just the life of the party. I always talked to everyone, showing people just dances. He also had like a passion for music, so sometimes he'll try to like have a few raps going on. He'd do that inside his room or anywhere. He, you know, just tried to make the best of his daily life. He's a good role model.
What do y'all think of how the government is handling this issue right now?
Is handling it poorly. But I mean, it's not surprising because it's all they've ever done before. They've had a technique that's worked in the past for them, and they don't know, or they didn't realize that it wasn't going to work again this time. And I don't really know why specifically it didn't work out this time. We were just like, stop it. It's very obviously not true. And we seem to be the only ones who are understanding that it's not true. So we're telling you that this is... Yes.
Why do you need that?
I'll send you guys some. It says that's BS 3 times. Because 3 times is powerful. Yeah, so we seem to be the only ones who are calling BS on that.
The truth is that our society is populated by an unknown number of genuine monsters. People that are so deranged, so evil, so possessed by voices and driven by demons that no sane person can ever possibly comprehend them.
It is a propaganda move by the NRA where they put forward things like, this person was crazy, he shouldn't have been able to buy a gun.
For them, it's not a safety issue, it's a political issue. They care more about control and more of it. Their goal is to eliminate the Second Amendment and our firearms freedoms so they can eradicate all individual freedoms.
But the NRA pushes against background checks, even though their spokespeople push for them and push against them, openly contradicting themselves in the same breath. And they know that people are going to get lost in their arguments and they're going to be focusing on the details, and then they can push the subject off the stage of the national attention, and we're not allowing that to happen this time, which is why so much of what's happening now is happening now. We're having these conversations that we would have never had before, that have never happened before, because we're not letting the NRA take this one over.
If someone has to come and tell you without you even talking, your voice doesn't matter. You can't do this. That's because they fear that you can. They fear that you will. It's used as a scare tactic to get you not to do it. So do it anyway.
So the little boy, which went to Keyshawn's school last year, the year before, had followed my son from the store and ended up like robbing him and taking his cell phone. But the good thing about it, Keyshawn recognized him, so we filed the police report. Then the next day, the police went to his high school that he was going to and arrested him and retrieved the phone. So we went to court for like 3-4 months back and forth. The little boy was locked up for like 2 months and this and the other. So when we get to court on the final day, the judge asked me like, so what do you want done to this young man, this and the other? So I'm a mother with single mother with boys, so I don't want to see another child like into the system or whatever. So I was like, oh, give him probation. I'm sure he learned this lesson, this, and the other. But I mean, like, I feel guilty now because the simple fact, like, a day before New Year's Eve, the little boy was considered as the stick-up kid or whatever in the neighborhood. He ended up getting shot in the head on 81st and Bishop the day before New Year's Eve. So it's like, to me, I feel guilty because it's like if I would have got him locked up, then he would still be alive today. But I didn't want to send him through that system or send his mother through all that, you know what I'm saying, over a cell phone that was retrieved, you know. So I felt like he learned his lesson, but then again, he didn't because he ended up doing it again and somebody wasn't as lenient as me and they actually killed him. So I felt bad. And he was only 16.
What are some exact changes that you guys would like to see happen?
If we increase background checks, ban high-capacity magazine and bump stocks, provide schools and communities with money that is required to maintain happy and healthy lives, and and digitalize the gun records, such as gun manufacturing, gun purchasing, gun ownership permits, all of that digitalized, and then maybe like cross-reference that with like owner information, like for background checks, to make everything easier for the person who's doing the research, because nowadays, like, how can you tell if somebody's actually done the research in those 3 days for the background check?
We are really looking for the playing field to be level. We want really the same opportunities as really everyone else. We look for investments in like mental health services. So if we get investments in mental health services to help out, now we can get to the root causes on, okay, what made you purchase this gun in the first place? What made you feel that you needed this to protect yourself? How were you in harm? How were you in danger?
Someone once told me on the bus going home one day that they were like, I said, what's important? Like if you don't like somebody, then vote them out of office. And they were like, I don't vote because, you know, your vote doesn't matter. And I'm like, what the? That's the only way that people get voted into office is with vote. What do you mean? The reason that people think this way is because adults and messages by the conservative individuals at the top who dislike listening to the younger generation, those people have been trying to disenfranchise kids. They've been trying to take away their messages and trying to squish them down and say, tell them your vote doesn't matter, because you could never amount to anything, because you could never say anything that would matter, because you won't know anything until you go through college, until you have a house, until you buy a car with your own money, until you work hard for this. We are working hard. We're making a march happen. We're organizing all of that. We're doing something. And like everybody in the country, there might even be like 800 marches by now. All over the world, still might be missing Antarctica, waiting on those penguins to march with us.
We're not just fighting for everybody at this table. We're not fighting for just the Parkland students that unfortunately had to be in this situation. And we're not fighting for all of the deaths in Chicago. We're fighting for the whole entire world, the whole America, because we have to. It's the youth.
Like, some think that you have to like do what we're doing now, doing marches and just do something like real huge, but that's not always the case. Anybody can just do one little thing inside their community to impact the future for themselves and make it a better place. They just gotta be willing to do it and have the heart. Just don't want to lose no one else, so whatever I can do or anybody else can do, I suggest that they do that, because a small difference can make a big impact.